My presentation is aiming at repeating what has been already said in the seminar and reformulating it. Also, it stems from the question which appeared during the last session about the relation of phenomenology and the seminar to the movement of so-called speculative realists. And I decided to take that question seriously and answer it. So that is this is what I have. I refrained from the language of speculative realists for such a long time that now I feel that returning to them won't be a crime. The main residue of the speculative realists' ideas, and precisely of Quentin Meillassoux, may be represented by a formula. The world is enclosed from us, and we somehow need to break on through the circle. Okay, but what options do we have then? The instant break would be the disappearance of a closure, which will take us into the realm of the theories of direct access. This is what the upper level of the diagram. The theories of direct access include both direct access to the world and to the mind. In the first case, it's may be found in contemporary spreadings of the empiricism of science and the idea that by studying patterns of the brain, we actually study what a self is in its core. And the example of the latter that directs access to the mind is, for example, Descartes and his idea of introspection. So you may say that this example is too old, that is not actual enough, but I would answer to this that no, it is still actual, because to those theories, to actually both those theories of direct access, there is a correlate in the sphere of understanding mental entities, which I called folk psychology. Folk psychological correlate. And by that, I mean the idea that to understand a person, we should know its thoughts, and that a sum of our personal thoughts makes us who we are. Of course, such a belief cannot exist apart from the assumption that we can know those thoughts directly by self-observation. So, quite prominent to this day belief rests on that direct access theory. Next, we go down. Next, the theory of direct access is being threatened by its main enemies, the radical reductionist theories and Kant's transcendentalism. So this is kind of the same level what we see there, the diagram. The examples that I put there are optional and can be changed. The common thing is their radical reductionism, be it the case that we are left with some minor experiences, yes, red dots or something, or we are left with actions as constituents of all behaviors. The mind's contents are being eradicated or proclaimed insignificant in both cases. To this deliberate reduction in philosophical dualism corresponds eliminativism about mental entities. In the sphere of mental entities. So what this eliminativism says is that it's not that we do not have access, it's rather that those mental entities simply do not exist. But to be fair, in Ryle's account, it's not that straightforward. Ryle says that mental entities whether they exist or not, are insignificant in assessing, judging, predicting, and following the behavior of the other, which is in fact the fullest sense of its understanding. By its, I mean the other. So, in a certain sense, this radical reduction theory says that the world at its fullest is within our reach, but that the mind is inaccessible in its entirety. The second enemy of direct access theory. Slightly down. We go slightly down. The second enemy is transcendentalism. To answer the question of how an access to the world is possible, Kantian endeavor has come upon the idea of the subject, a traffic light at the crossroads of mind and world, that while fulfilling the task and indeed allowing certain traffic of sensory impulses to pass through, at the same time puts an end to any possibility of a direct ride by passing this checkpoint. The transcendental subject, as we discussed, has multiple levels which are constitutive for all experiences and at the same time ensure their realization. Those are forms, such as the spatial and temporal forms of organization of intuitions. I could add to the discussion that, we discussed those forms, and I could add to the discussion that maybe there is also the third form, which we only cursorily touched upon, which is the I appearance, the form that constitutes the transcendental unity of a perception. In this regard, Husserl's phenomenology should stand for a distinct model of access relation, which may be represented by a formula. The only thing we have access to is the inner time consciousness. Okay, but what is it? At some point, I thought that it is an elaboration of Kant's I appearance, but now I don't really think that this is the case. It seems to me now that it's not a form that we are looking for, and that what we see is not an elaboration, but an antidote for Kant's formalism about mental entities. In understanding what this antidote might be, a remark from the last session has really helped me. So there we have went to the bottom of the diagram already, yes, to this inner time consciousness, and now we observe what is left. So in understanding what this antidote might be, a remark from the last session has really helped me. That with Kant, we have critical philosophy as a self-building system, while with Husserl, a speculative one. This means that critical philosophy starts philosophy as the motion of self-relation, and that in Kant, this self-relation is manifested only in the formal way of the relation of appearances or self-forms. But in Husserl, we have another essential type of self-relation that is not reaching the fabric of appearances. To go another step upward, while both eliminativism and transcendentalism are opposed to the empiricist dualist alliance, there is also a structural rift between them that marks a qualitative distinction in philosophy. At those levels, I mean, at this, what we may call the third level now, the transcendental philosophy, at those levels, philosophy acquires a certain self-relation, and the mind acquires it as well. Indeed, it's not just the self-relation to the world, it is also the I relation to I, what we are looking for. Since now mind has its own levels that constitute and realize it. In other words, somewhere in this movement, the world is lost, the you for me is found. So my self is finally founded. Also, further, between the third transcendental and the fourth phenomenological level, some kind of Aufheben, this suspension happens. We suspend critical philosophy in order to abstract it, take it further in its more general form. This suspension would consist in extracting the main residue of critical philosophy and taking it as a basis of the latter stage of a philosophical reaction. So, is it possible to have a self-relation that is free even of appearances? With this question, I think we may approach examination of Husserl in a very intriguing and productive way. And as an example of the self-relation that we may found here, yes, I left this also quote from the last session, an example of self-relation. In philosophy may be the intelligence of philosophy and the philosophy of intelligence, which corresponds directly to these entities that I called you and me. I mean, this was a quote from Reza, but yeah, I really liked it, and I liked how the direction of this thought about self-relation, how it maybe how we can turn to it through this essentially philosophical example. So yeah, that's it. I haven't read the paper about essences yet, but my purpose was simply to say why we should do it. Okay, thanks.